You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma podcast. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode. Excited to share this episode with you today. But before we do, I've got to thank our sponsors. First of all, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. They've been a huge part of this podcast for the last few years. So the Oklahoma Hall of Fame have been sharing Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com. And for daily updates, go to oklahomahof on Instagram and give them a follow. Our other sponsor today is the Chickasaw Nation. Now, the Chickasaw Nation have sponsored pretty much everything in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma. And it's an honor to have their name and their brand supporting this podcast. So a huge shout out to Governor Anatoby for supporting this podcast. It really means a lot. And finally, our third sponsor is 988. The Oklahoma 988 Mental Health Lifeline. 988 is a direct 3-digit lifeline that connects you with trained behavioral health professionals that can get all Oklahomans the help that they need. Learn more by visiting 988oklahoma.com. That's 988oklahoma.com. And now, let's get into today's episode. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode. Got a Broken Bow related podcast today, which all of you listening will know exactly where that is. You've probably seen all the cabins. Maybe you've been lucky enough to go down there and spend a few days. But I'm going to talk a little bit about Broken Bow with, a Broken Bow travel enthusiast would probably be the way I would put it. Jamie Sinton's on the podcast with me, and your Instagram is Broken Bow Travel Sisters?
Yes, broken.bow.travel.sisters.
Which you did have another page. It's sadly.
It's my second
R.I.P.
one.
You have a second page. But obviously, before we like we do with this podcast, before we do dive into the main topic, give us some context on who you are, where you grew up, and then I guess your kind of Oklahoma story.
Sure. So I'm from Dallas, Texas, went to Grapevine High School, moved to Ponca City, Oklahoma 15 years ago. My husband is from there. He got a job offer, and I said, nope. I'm not moving to Oklahoma, even though my sister, she was going to Oklahoma State University. But I was like, no, there's no way I'm moving to a small town. But then I got pregnant. So guess what? We ended up moving to Oklahoma. And now here we are promoting part of the state.
Yeah.
So 10 years ago, we went to Broken Bow for the first time. I was looking for a place for our family to meet up from Dallas. Found this cabin, Southeast Oklahoma, never had heard of it. We go and we said, what is this place? Like, nobody talks about this. The lake was so gorgeous. And then from then on, I kept sharing and sharing it. And over time, it kind of all organically happened. People said, can you help me find a cabin? And we started to help people turn into a business where we got to know cabin owners so we could stay. We just wanted to go more.
Yeah.
And we helped them promote their luxury cabins.
Yeah. And which is a great business to be in right now because they seem to be popping up everywhere. And
it's like a candy store.
It's crazy,
us.
Right?
Yes.
And every time I see, I log into like the real estate MLS or whatever, and I'm like, oh, another listing from Broken Bow. They're even selling before they're built now, which is crazy.
It is.
But it is great, and it clearly was a hobby that's now become a business.
Yes, when I moved to Oklahoma, I had never lived in a small town. Mm-hmm. And people would say there's nothing to do here. And I was always a travel person. I love road trips and to explore. It was just in me anyway. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, Broken Bow, this is such a great place for not just couples, but families can come here, split the cost. It's affordable for my Okies who can't go to Disney every year. And that's kind of where it started. And they can be with family and friends and have all those memories. Yeah. Plus be in nature, right? Hiking, on the water, in the pine trees. So that's what started it. It was my passion to share because I just didn't hear about it. And I wanted to share this awesome place that I thought was a hidden gem, and I love hidden gems.
It was, right? Yeah. It was at the time. And it kind
of still is. We're still kind of a diamond in the rough a little bit, but that's what makes it so special.
Yeah, definitely. It's such a cool spot. And hopefully, and now state's realizing it. Lieutenant Pennell
We
understands
are. We're getting more
potential.
attention.
Get a lot more money. The infrastructure will grow, because I think that's the one thing that holds it back, right? Is like the infrastructure in the town, and it's not used to having thousands of people show up. And I'm sure there is some animosity from the locals, being like, "This is our town, leave us alone." But
it's been when COVID hit, it really got crazy. It was a steady growth. We knew it was going to grow. I could see that it was going to grow. But COVID hit, and cabins are good all the time, so it just went through the roof.
Yeah.
And not only people visiting, but people investing. And so then we have the problem of, oh my goodness, we're a really small town, and we don't have the infrastructure to support all this that's going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hardworking people in Ho Chi Town right now who have been working for years to become incorporated. And finally, on November 8th of this year, the residents of Ho Chi Town will be voting to finally have it become its own city.
That's crazy.
Which is huge for us, because then we can do a real fire department and real infrastructure.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be without those local people, which happens in all of Oklahoma, right?
Yeah.
To help get things done.
Yeah, that's the scary thing, right? Is if you're down there, you're out of town, you're with family, and someone's elderly and they have an issue, or anyone has an issue.
Yes.
No matter who you are, a kid might fall over and hit their head, whatever it is. There's no way some of those ambulances are getting to those trails and to those, because when I went down there, thankfully we took an SUV down there, and it was raining the whole time. Typical. I could drive all the way down there. I was supposed to get great drone work of the
Of course, it's raining the whole time in Oklahoma.
And and our view was beautiful, and it rained the whole time. But again, you're like, if something were to happen, like, nobody's getting here, right? So you've got, those are real issues you got to think of. But growing pains, I guess we can call them.
It is major growing pains, and Smithville is north of Ho Chi Town, and there's always been cabins there along the Mountain Fork River. That's what makes it partly special there. And my parents would not want to stay that far because they were worried. Well, what if something happens? So just like growth is hard. It takes a while, but I feel like the people that love Ho Chi Town, which is really the town where everything happens, everyone's supportive, and we all want the same things.
Yeah.
And
the good thing in those businesses has been growing, right? Like the clothing store that's there that has
Ho Chi Time.
It's so cool. And now they have their own brand, and then the distillery, right? The pizza place, and then you got businesses popping up.
And that's what drew me in also, was all the businesses were local. They were the owners working. When I came years ago, they still are. It was so unique not to have any chain restaurants. Everything was the town doing it. And that was special. Everything's very unique. People like Kim Kennedy, who started the Ho Chi Time store, he's a genius. He literally branded our area. And I adore him, and it's one of my favorite stores in Oklahoma, hands down. Yeah.
So with you just said you because your husband having a baby, you moved to Ponca City, and then, like I said, this trial, you explain how this all happens. Tell me how this then generally turns into a business for you, because you have a great website, which is brokenboattravel.com. I'll link that below.
Oh, great.
How do you get, how does that come about? Where does the idea come from, and how do you think, hang on a second,
how are we going to do this?
Yeah.
Well, I do, like I said, I love to storytell or share information. I knew my Facebook friends were getting sick of my Broken Boat post. And it was actually my dad. He's like, just make a website. Maybe you can help some people. And at first I'm like, you know what? Maybe we should. So my friend, she does my website. She has a company in Ponca City. Started with the website. And at first I would just help people for free because I was just starting and never really had my own business. And I would search cabins for them. And then over time, we wanted to get to stay at more cabins. It's what we loved. Cabin owners, I was also starting my Instagram page. But before I started that page, I did a page for my cats to practice. I remember I was like, let me do that page first. Then we started the website in conjunction with the Instagram page, which back then was the thing to do. Yeah. And owners were noticing what we were posting. And there really was a need. There was they have their professional photos, but then we wanted to take it up a notch and have it come to life. And actually show people, real people, real kids in the cabin doing things. And so we were helping people through our website. We had owners reaching out to us. We had kind of a brand. It's Bow Time was our hashtag. Me and my sister had only boys, so we loved the bow. Now we have a little girl in there. But people started to trust us. They're like, well, maybe they actually do know what they're talking about, because nobody was really promoting it the way we were. And then we were just filling a need in that area. So we got busier, and we only at first just did a free stay. But we were doing photography. My sister's my model. We were buying clothes for her. So we knew we had to make a business to keep doing it. And so we offer packages for owners. They pick a package. And then I started doing social media for other cabin owners. So one need, it kind of all organically happened, fell into another need. And I'm like, I'm already in the cabins every day. So maybe if cabin owners need me to help them with their social media, then I'll do that too.
Right. Yeah. I mean, classic example, right? You see a need, you know, you have a passion around something, and then the need is there.
Yes.
And most of these business owners, they don't want to do social media. It's
They're
the last
busy.
thing they want to do, right?
Yes.
You know, they're busy building the next cabin.
Yes.
So
they're busy. A lot of our owners are 85% are from Dallas. They're very entrepreneurial. They have other businesses. They just don't have the time. And as you know, social media is a lot. So with more cabins coming and more competition, you do have to put yourself out there and showcase your space in creative ways.
Yeah.
Consistently to get people to want to book with you.
That's the key.
Yes.
Right? Everyone asks me too, like, well, you know, what's the key to your success? I'm like, consistency.
It's consistency and telling a story, having people trust you. But getting to know the cabin owners for me has been one of the best things because I wanted to be them. Yeah. And so I learned from them, and I was like, we're cheering you on. We're here for you. Once we promote you through Facebook, TikTok, our website, we're always going to be here for you. You know, if you have a cancellation, you need us to help you out, like, we're here. Yeah. So it was nothing we ever set out to do. It really just kind of happened. Yeah.
So do you have a passion for photography kind of before this all started?
I love
how does that start?
I love photography, but I'm not a photographer. Like, I can take pictures with my phone.
Same.
But my sister actually is really good at photography. So we did some classes for her. Our highest package, we offer lifestyle photos of the cabin. They can use that in their marketing. So my sister, we kind of use each other's strengths. My sister's like my model, my photographer, and then I manage our social media and our relationships. And when you're promoting part of the state, you naturally start promoting other parts or other areas in your state too. And that's been really fun, just to help people go places they wouldn't normally think of.
That's the thing too, right? Is if they're seeing families there, it's so easy to relate to that, isn't it? And it's so, I think that's one of the, you think of Airbnb and you think of cabins and you're like, the photos are what get you, same with selling a house or a cabin. Like, the photos get you hyped and get you there. Yes. And a lot of people, I think, probably scared of being burned or scared of being like, we've shown up and this place is not what it was supposed to be, or there are no photos, right? And there's such an important part of an advertisement, if you do a video, great, like that's like the pinnacle, right? But for the most part, they're just photos. Right. And I know, is it Cameron that's down there? Takes incredible photos of the real estate stuff.
Yeah, Matt Cameron is not only just a great person, but I literally tell people or cabin owners, he can bring your cabin to life. Yeah. And not everybody can do that. Not any photographer can take good pictures of a cabin. And so he's still one of my favorites. Yeah. Along with, there's a few others that do video and things like that, but he's local, he's there. What I can tell if their pictures are not from Matt, but he really just has not just a passion, but his talent for doing that.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I've shared a lot of his photos. He
they're
does
so
a
good.
Great job. And good for him to be local and take advantage of what's happening, because a lot of people probably growing up there definitely didn't have that opportunity before him, so he's doing a great job with what he's got in front of him.
He's been so supportive of us because as an outsider coming into a small town, I didn't know this till I moved to Oklahoma. When I first moved to Oklahoma, I worked for the American Red Cross in Tulsa. Yeah. I covered a lot of eastern Oklahoma. I would have to go to small towns. And so I learned really fast how to work with those small towns, which helped me work with Hochatown. You can't just like kind of come in and take over. You have to earn the respect of the people, have them trust you, build those relationships, and that takes time.
Yeah. What's it like, working with your sister as well, right? Like,
that's so fun.
Right. It's are you older, younger? Like, what's the dynamic?
I'm the oldest.
Okay.
She's the baby. But everyone's like, it must be so much fun. And I'm like, it is so much fun. Like, I'm like, is this real? How did we get here? But we have a blast, and we can share it with our family and our friends. It's been the best.
Yeah.
And promote Oklahoma and help people come. So.
Yeah, that's really, I don't think I could have that experience with my brother.
Not everybody, right?
Not everyone, but it's so cool that you kind of have that. And I know, like you mentioned before we started recording, she's in Dallas, you're here.
Yes.
Like, you have that really cool dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
She can obviously relate to everybody who lives in Dallas that's traveling, not as far than we travel from Oklahoma City. But it's really cool to have that. And also, like I said, build a relationship with the local businesses there and the businesses that are growing in the town. Like, that means so much, doesn't it? Because you're effectively becoming one of them rather than coming in and saying, hey, come in and take over, make some money, and that's it.
You do. You have to be very careful. When I first started going, a lot of realtors were coming in from Dallas because they knew what was coming, and I would hear them say certain things, maybe not great things, and then that was like my red flag. Like, okay, you're not really here for the right reasons. And you have to be really careful. You have to, the growth is hard for them. It's hard for places even like Pawhuska, Oklahoma, that's had growth. And so you have to, be aware of that.
Yeah.
And so, but it's so much fun to get to know the business owners, and that's really how you grow and grow well, is to foster those relationships.
Well, and you've been doing this for quite some time now, right? So
I have. I can't believe it's been almost 10 years.
Isn't that crazy?
No.
It goes by so fast.
Because I used to say, a few years ago we found this place, and now next year will be our 10-year anniversary for Labor Day weekend.
Yeah.
And I can't believe it's been almost 10 years to see like where Broken Bow has gone, and it's wild.
Yeah. And you get family involved, you get sons, and you got boys involved, and your husband involved as well.
They all love it. When we first started going, we found the place, our first cabin. We said this would be our place where our kids come all the time for those memories. And I remember thinking, I can't wait to see my son kayaking and now he's 15 and kayaking on his own and fishing. Yeah. We really have gotten to love river cabins. We love to be near the water, on the water, and Broken Bow Lake is the most gorgeous lake in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
If no one's going to say it, I will say it, hands down. All you see are rolling green hills, and it's beautiful. It's coming
up to fall, which is the best time of year down there.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Of all the places in Oklahoma to have trees,
yes,
this is the best place, because generally Oklahomans, we don't get to see trees, very real trees, what I call actual trees, not just like a weed on the side of the highway that some people call a tree. It's like the Oklahoma equivalent of a mountain. You're like, well, it's not really a mountain compared to the rest of the world, but Oklahomans call it a mountain.
Yes. If you're looking for that fall experience in the trees and being in nature and not feeling like you're in Oklahoma, but you're in Oklahoma, it is the place to be for sure. And it's also the home of Beavers Bend State Park, which is the #1 state park in Oklahoma. And it has the Mountain Fork River. That's where people kayak, canoe, fly fish, do hiking, all the activities. And it's absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I'm sure because you're involved in it and you're down there, you get to see all these businesses grow, but you also get to see the new businesses come in, right? And like I said, the kayaking, the fishing down there is really good. Oh, yeah. And the hiking. And then, it could be a bowling alley or a movie theater, whatever it is, like all of these things that are coming in. Yeah. It's just super, it's just you watch this town grow. It's exciting. Into a city soon. Yes. It's exciting. And you will have people that say, oh, I wish it was like it was, 10 years ago. There's always a little bit of that, but we're going to keep growing. It's not ever going back to what it was before. Yeah. And I still can't believe all the cabins that are coming. Even though we've slowed down some since COVID, we still have a lot of cabins and a lot more on the way. But we have something for everybody. We have couples cabins, cabins that sleep 35, rustic, modern farmhouse, modern river cabins. We're going to be seeing more luxury river cabins. Yeah. So awesome. Do you ever think you'd have a travel agency, basically? Like, this is what this is, right? Are you a travel agent? I'm like, no. I say we're cabin influencers.
Yeah.
You know, never in my wildest dreams, like never. I never thought I would be doing this.
Yeah.
But it does make sense. I love to just find new places. And I always say my top 3 hidden gems in Oklahoma are Broken Bow, Ho Chi Town, Carlton Landing, and Pawhuska, Oklahoma, Reed Drummond. Those are my 3 that I feel like people still don't visit enough or don't know much about. So I just love sharing that.
Yeah, and your website's great. I'm just kind of
you're
scrolling through it. Yeah, I'm scrolling through it right now and just looking at things to do, and there's plenty of things to do down there, and that's an
I couldn't
ever-growing
keep up with
list.
that page too well because there's honestly so much. But Curtin County has a wonderful tourism page, so I don't try to reinvent the wheel too much. Try to focus more on cabins, but if anybody's going to go besides our page, the McCurtain County tourism page is excellent.
Yeah,
they do a good job.
I repost a lot of their videos.
They're so good, right?
They do amazing work, and I think it shows they truly care too, right?
They do.
Like, you know, they're not just kind of mailing it in.
Right.
Like, they're really producing great work.
Yeah.
But people can go to the website and actually, you know, book cabins through the website, right? And look at
I
different
have
things
cabin
to do
links,
and stuff.
and there's actually a cabin request form. That's where I'll personally help somebody find the perfect cabin for their stay. I charge a small amount for my time, but I send them links with prices, and then I might say, hey, I know the owner, I've stayed here. I can give my personal feedback.
Yeah.
Some people are just busy. They don't want to look through all the cabins, and so it's just a service we provide.
Yeah, well, and kind of the business of a travel agent's kind of dying out, I think.
I think so.
Right? Like, you know, it's not like, you know, 10 years ago we'd go to a travel agent and say, what, you know, I want this, and then, you know, I want this a holiday or this vacation, and then here it is. You're going to Mexico, stay in this great hotel,
right.
It's all taken care of, right? Whereas now, like, because of VRBO and Airbnb and all these things, you know, you can do it yourself. It's so easy, but also, like, you back to what I said earlier, you don't want to get burned, right? So you have that trust in coming to you for a small fee. And I know the people, we have a great relationship, and also if things don't work out, they can call you and figure it out, right? There's, you know, there's access and stuff too.
Yes,
You know,
I mean, I
like,
always want feedback and open. When people pick their cabin I've never stayed at, I only have so much control, but I always want feedback how their stay was. And then people can always message me on Instagram for whatever question. Sometimes it's restaurant help. Sometimes even cabin owners, we're really servicing them too. Sometimes they're so busy, they're not even all up to date on all the things going on. So we kind of service both the person coming to visit and also all the cabin owners, because the cabin owners don't live there. They're not local, which is different, because some other areas of the country, sometimes they're just in town, but our owners are not, most of them. So
yeah, there's a lot of outside investment going on, right?
Yes.
And, you know, these building beautiful cabins, which I'm sure obviously, you know, the locals sometimes aren't happy with it, which that's fine, I get.
Yeah.
You know, there's pros and cons for the whole thing, but at the same time, you know, it's bringing money in, which is a good thing.
It is. And I never thought I would see this in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I mean, people still don't believe. When I first started doing this, people didn't believe me. It took me a long time because there's like, whatever, it's Oklahoma. But Oklahoma is awesome.
Yeah.
There are so many great things in our state.
Yeah. So with like, you know, so your family's involved and you predominantly live in Ponca City still, right? So you still got that going on. You mentioned those, you know, that Pawhuska and Carlton Landing are 2 other places. Why? I mean, not why, but I know why. But for people listening who don't know why are those 2 places on your list?
Carlton Landing is on my list because it's a very unique vacation destination. It's an urban, walkable community, and it's beautiful. It was modeled after Seaside, Florida. So your kids can just walk out their front door and run around and ride their bikes. There's not a lot of cars. It's meant to just go out your front door and walk, and it's really fun. But you really do feel like you're in a Hallmark movie. If you're looking for a place where you feel like you're in a Hallmark movie, Carlton Landing is for you. And it's still small and nestled on Lake Eufaula. They are growing. They have a little grocery store now. There's a pizza place. But it's really cool to your neighbors are closer, but just to walk out your front door and walk down to the meeting house where they have a bar and food, and it's just really fun.
Yeah. So
I love Carlton Landing for what it is. And then it's close to Tulsa in Oklahoma City, so it's not very far. Pawhuska, I used to go there for work back in the day, and it was a ghost town. So it's kind of, for me, to see that town come back to life is one of the coolest things I've ever been able to see, right?
Yeah.
Transform back to life. And I love the Drummonds. I mean, I'm all into that. So great restaurant. They've done so much for that area. So
Yeah.
it's in Tallgrass Prairie, the bison. If you haven't been to see the bison, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's beautiful up there, right? And
It's
obviously
beautiful.
the Killers of the Flower Moon really put that place on the map.
Osage County is really special. If you
Yeah.
ever actually drive through Osage County, it is like you're there from years and years ago, untouched. It's really, I just love it. It's like magical to me.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by it.
One thing that like pains me, right, is that we have all these amazing places, and all it takes is for someone to jump in the car and drive out there and spend not even a full day, half a day.
True.
People don't do it. People don't leave their comfort zones, right? They want to sit and watch TV, or they want to go to, now it's football season, right? You can't, God forbid, you go anywhere on a Saturday that hasn't got a game on.
Right.
So I'm just trying to get people to leave, right, and to go out. And there are people that do it, but, I think more people should, especially in-state.
It's true. Before I came here today, I talked with several people where I was at, and I always ask them if they know Broken Bow, and I would say most of them had not been before or didn't know much about it. I'm always like, okay, there's work to do. And I even talked to one gentleman. I said, I wonder if I lived in a bigger city like Oklahoma City, would I venture out to smaller places as much? Because I'm in a smaller town, so I'm always venturing out anyway. And he's like, no, I think you'd probably still go. I think people just have a hard time just realizing what else is out there. Sometimes they are used to kind of the Branson, the normal things that they've done for a long time.
Yeah. Well, and like you said earlier, COVID really did a great thing for Broken Bow because it forced people to jump in a car and go on vacation,
It
right?
did.
And it's like, I don't want to fly, or I don't want to deal with, whatever, you just think car is easy, flights aren't working right now, jump in a car and go, and that really accelerated.
It did,
a bunch
so
of
fast.
things.
It'd be, to think back, like, where would we be right now if COVID had never happened? Because, oh my gosh, you couldn't even find a cabin sometimes. And then the cabins were selling so fast. I mean, it was just hard to even buy one. It was just a really wild time. But if anything, it made people, like you said, come and see what was in their state and realize what a great area it was.
Yeah. So almost 10 years in, I mean, you've seen literally a city grow out of the ground, which is incredible.
Yes.
What do you want to see going forward? And actually, before we get to that, what have you seen over the last 10 years that like you just highlights, I guess, and great moments?
Oh, in the Ho Chi Town area?
Sure, yeah.
Being on the water, just being out there with my family and friends, learning to fly fish. There's Morgan and her husband, Trey, teach people how to fly fish there. And I had never seen a woman have like an Instagram page fly fishing. And she kind of motivated me to be like, hey, go try it. So just like trying new things like that, going with so many friends and introducing new people. Everybody I took there ended up falling in love with it or coming back. And just getting to know the community. It's almost like I live in two different places. I live in Ponca, but also like Ho Chi Town, right?
Yeah.
So it's just been fun to see it grow alongside with my family and friends, and to see the town grow and change. Even though it's hard, there's so much good about it too.
Yeah, and I think excuse me, I'm yawning because it's noon and I'm tired.
Oh no, it's okay.
One of the greatest, I think, cabins that I've posted, and I think that's done probably better than most posts for me, was that Cannonball. The pool with the pool, right?
Mm-hmm.
That photo, sleeps 9 people. It's all lit up. I mean, it's just like, that's, people are like, that's in Oklahoma, and it's right on the top of the hill, right?
Yes.
It doesn't.
Yeah,
that's in Oklahoma. Like, yeah.
Yeah, people don't believe it, and we just now have had new cabins with pools. That's not
usually
been a
just
thing.
a hot tub, right?
Yeah. We had a few cabins with pools, but it was really, really rare. In the past year, we've had more cabins now with pools, which people love. They do really well, obviously, like in the summer and things. So we have seen that. We are just seeing large cabins to, more and more large cabins to accommodate more people, but with all the luxuries, like a game room, a hot tub. Some of our big ones have 2 hot tubs and 2 game rooms. Yeah. I mean, it's like you see other cabin communities and that are popular, and they have some beautiful cabins, but I don't know many places in the U.S. that has as many as we do.
Right.
I mean, it's really unheard of.
Hundreds.
I mean, it's not a normal thing.
Yeah.
Even in places like Colorado.
Yeah.
So it's so unique.
And the thing is, like, you know, we know this, that like this just scratching the surface on the amount of land that's available down there.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Like eventually, okay, it's going to slow down because like the cost of it's going to, you know, whatever. But there's so much more land down there to be developed, whether it's that a good thing or a bad thing. I'll leave that up to whoever wants to decide. But
yeah,
this is, you know, we're not done.
No. People were, when COVID happened and everything was going wild, people started buying up land in Smithville, which is north of Hochatown. Actually, that Smithville is beautiful because there's a lot of area on the Mountain Fork River. And then as you go more north, it's the Talamina Scenic Highway, which is very popular in the fall.
Beautiful, yeah.
So actually, the more north you go, the more beautiful it is because you're in the national forest. But every area that's near Broken Bow or Hochatown is growing because they're growing, right? Every town, even like Hugo, Oklahoma, I heard, is reaping the benefits of growth. And Ida Bell and all those areas.
And you guys have a podcast as well? Is that right?
We don't.
You don't? So what's the... well, you on a podcast?
I should have a cabin podcast.
No, I just see there's the Hosting Hochatown podcast.
Oh,
you guys are featured
sorry.
on.
Yeah, so, gosh, maybe just in the past year, Hochatown does have its own podcast.
That's awesome.
We were on there. It was so much fun. They have done a great job of just keeping everybody up to date and educated, especially through the process of becoming our own town.
Yeah.
So that's been such a great thing.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Back to what I was going to ask you is tell me about future. What do you want to do? Where's this going to go? You've been doing it for 10 years. Like,
I know.
I mean, are you going to start employing people? You need your own cabin. You can, you know, like, is the plan to move down there? Like, what do you want to do? If you could wave the magic wand, what would you do?
If I could, I would have my own cabin.
Sure.
Which I'm like, how will I take all the things I love and put it in 1 or 2 cabins? But I really would love to be a cabin owner and then continue to promote the area, maybe other opportunities that I can get involved in to help, because we are growing and there's so many needs. I don't see myself moving there anytime in the future, but you never know.
Right.
So I just want whatever that marketing or social media world takes us, because really so much is going towards like video and things like that. I'd love to have like maybe a YouTube channel, just get better with like videos and promoting cabins.
Yeah. Have you had kind of people reaching out to you on, you know, like, hey, I see you've started up a travel business in a developing area. Like that seems like a great, value to add people, you know, to give people is, you know, you're in there from the ground up. You've helped so many cabins. That's also a service in itself for other people who want to try and do that.
Well, we did finally get our first promotion for Carlton Landing, so we'll be there in October, which, you know, some people will be like, okay, you know, it's not Broken Bow. And I know it's not Broken Bow, but it's still Oklahoma. Yeah. And I'm excited to maybe just promote other areas. We have done a cabin in Lake Tenkiller. We've done Mena, Arkansas. You know, trying to think of where our customer would want to go. If they're someone who would go to Broken Bow, they're probably going to go to Carlton Landing and other places like that.
Yeah, people are used to going to renting big houses or big cabins to take family vacations.
Right.
It's much easier for them to go to Broken Bow, Carlton Landing, or Lake Tenkiller, or anywhere. Or, I mean, Skiatook is one that's close to Tulsa as well.
Yeah.
Or, you know, Grand Lake's obviously the most popular one. I think a lot of people own houses up there. But it's much easier to do that than go to Colorado.
It is.
Or New Mexico and spend 10 hours in a car, which is miserable with your family. You know, like nobody wants to do that with 3 kids in the car.
No. I mean, I love Colorado, but who wants to drive all that? It's just not like feasible, right? Yeah. So I would love to be a cabin owner, to get into that business, to build a cabin. I've always wanted to, and to be a part of that community in that way.
Yeah.
But I just love promoting anything in Oklahoma, honestly. So I'm kind of open to see. I think Oklahoma has a lot of we have a long way to go still, you know? So
and the good thing is you get to not only promote the place you're staying, but you get to promote the restaurants, the businesses, like
everything.
There's so many, there's so many, sadly, we don't have enough time to do what we want to do, right? Like you probably struggle from that the same way I do, is like, I have all these things I could talk about and post and cover, but I only have so many hours in the day.
I know.
And you also probably have you have other things to do as well. You're a mother.
I do. I mean, and that's, me and my sister has a really busy full-time job.
Yeah.
And so for both of us to try to coordinate our schedules, because we have to travel there, it's a lot, but of course we love it. Yeah. But I'm also doing the social media side and have clients now, which I really love because it's flexibility. It's still doing all the cabin things that I do every day, but I'm getting to help owners in a different way.
Yeah.
So for this time in my life, it's the best while raising a family. My husband has a busy business in Ponca City. So realistically, can only do so many things, like you said.
So when you do go down to Broken Bow in these areas that you're covering with clients, you probably don't get to relax that much because you're working the whole time.
But people think we do.
Right, exactly. It looks like it.
Because it's like, we are lucky. It is awesome. But there are times where we barely get to go out ourselves and experience the new places because we are trying to film content, to do photos. We have all the kids with us. Most of our jobs, we still have our kids with us. Like, we're working hard, Yeah. I mean, it's not like we're just going off the two of us. We're dragging the whole team.
Taking your kids to work every single day, right?
Exactly. But our husbands help a lot. It's a family gig. My dad, he'll make us drinks. He'll help us out. So it's a family thing, but it's fun.
Thankfully, you probably get to stay in great places down there because you're adding value, and they're like, hey, don't worry about it.
We do. I mean, we do. It's during the school year, we can't do as much. Sure. So we've had to learn our balance too. And we didn't want to get burned out and to where we weren't enjoying it anymore. Mm. So I think we've learned, like any business along the way, how to do that. But my dad is really the biggest Broken Bow fan of all. So hopefully we'll get to develop his lots eventually.
That's awesome.
And do cabins and stuff.
Well, finishing up then, if you were to spend your ideal day down there, which I'm sure this is hard to do for you because you know everybody and, where would you go for breakfast? Where would you go for lunch? What would you do?
That's a hard question.
I know. As of today, if I ask you tomorrow, it's going to change. But right now, what would you do for a daily thing with the family?
Honestly, my brother-in-law makes the best cabin breakfast, so I would definitely do a family in the cabin breakfast. My dad would make Bloody Marys. We would have mimosas. That's how I would do my breakfast. For lunch, that's a hard question. Probably Grateful Head Pizza or the Mountain Fork Brewery is one of our favorites because there's the beer and then there's a great outdoor area for kids. But if you want to go out for dinner, my favorite place is a Bendigo's, which is probably our nicest, fancier restaurant there. Chad Sargent, the owner, is amazing. They do outdoor live music, and their food's incredible. Yeah. So that would be my perfect foodie day.
Yeah. What about daily activities?
Definitely the lake. Okay. That's my number one favorite thing to do. I like to be in the water, on the water. So renting a boat, no problem, I say. You can rent jet skis. If I wasn't doing the boat, it would be kayaking on the Mountain Fork River for sure. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So that's how you should spend. People listening, if you're going down there, best place to find everything will be at the website. I'll put in link in description, brokenbowtravel.com. This is awesome. Anything else you want to talk about that we haven't spoken about that you think these people who are going down there need to know this?
Oh gosh, just know that if you do go down to Ho Chi Town anytime in the next year, to just be patient with the local restaurants. We're busy. We're trying to handle the growth still. Mm-hmm. They're also redoing some of the roads and the infrastructure. So just to be kind and patient, take your time, because we only have one main road down there, 259. So just be patient with us as we grow. But we are getting a second marina soon. So we're excited about that. And there's a state lodge on the lake, which is the only place there that's on the lake because you can't build cabins on the lake there. They're almost done redoing it.
That's awesome.
So it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah.
In Beavers Bend State Park.
That's a really good point that you mentioned, is being patient with, because you're coming from a big city for the most part, right? You're going to a place that's not as developed, that isn't used to having the volume that they're having. Like, these guys and girls are doing the best that they can do.
They are. They really, and I know it is hard when you're coming from the city.
Yeah, of course.
You have expectations, but I'm telling you, a lot of these businesses are local. The owners are there working. They're doing the best that they can, and we're still trying to recover from some of the COVID stuff. Lack of staff and things like that. So,
yeah, I assume it's quite a hard place to get people to move and live there full time.
Because you're far from any big city.
Yeah.
And so that's been a struggle too. But but you'll still have a great time. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Jamie, thanks so much for coming down. I really appreciate it. Thank you for my gift. I can't wait to open it later.
Thank you. Yes.
I really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I think you're the only person, actually no, you're the first person that's given me a gift that's actually fully wrapped.
Well, before we go, I will say the 50th thing I love about Ree Drummond is that her store has a gift wrapping section, and they gift wrap, which I don't see that anymore anywhere.
No.
But Ree has it going on, okay? She knows what she's doing.
She knows what she's doing. She needs to come on the podcast.
She does, yes.
She's busy all the time. But thank you so much for coming down. I really appreciate it. For people listening, I'll put the links to everything you do in the description. Broken Bow Travel website, your Instagram, your sister's Instagram. Bowtime Girl is your sister's?
Good, yes. Thanks for reminding me. Bowtime Girl. Yes.
And then yours is broken.bow.travel.sisters.
Yes.
And then Facebook page as well. So
yes, Broken Bow Travel is our Facebook. We are on TikTok. I think it's under Visit Broken Bow Cabins. But if anyone has a question, they can message us. We'll answer.
Awesome. Thank you so much for listening, guys. We'll catch you next episode. And definitely go down to Broken Bow if you haven't been. Cheers. Hope you guys enjoyed that great episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, huge shout out to our sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, sharing Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at OklahomaHOF. Our other sponsor, the Chickasaw Nation, amazing sponsor. They do amazing things for the state, and they're always sponsoring something in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And finally, our third sponsor for today, the Oklahoma 988 Mental Health Lifeline. 988 is the direct 3-digit lifeline that connects you with the trained behavioral health professionals that can get all Oklahomans the help that they need. Learn more by visiting 988oklahoma.com. It's 988oklahoma.com. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.